This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defenbaugh here with the Wisconsin Live Desk. As you have just been watching the reports from overseas and the speeches given by President Donald Trump and leaders from more than 20 other countries meeting in Egypt to discuss the peace plan signed and agreed today between Hamas and Israel. The hope here is that this ends more than 2 years of war in the Gaza Strip, all of which started with the October 7th attacks of 2023 when Hamas went into Israel, captured, killed more than 1,000 people and took many hostages back with them into Gaza. What happened over the weekend was the release of the remaining 20 surviving hostages. The bodies of some of the deceased hostages will also be exchanged, while Israel has plans to release more than 1,900 Palestinian prisoners back to Gaza as well. And you're seeing President Donald Trump there speaking with some of the other leaders from around the world, all gathered in Egypt. The president started this trip today with a speech in Israel, actually, where he has received raucous applause and adoration for brokering part of this peace deal between Israel and Hamas and to help bring those hostages home. Then the president moved on to Egypt, where those other world leaders met and were discussing the plan, and as you can see, still having some of the conversations there with many, many people gathered. Of course, the interests of so many involved, not just in Israel and on the Gaza Strip, but throughout the Middle East. You heard in the president's remarks the hope that this can lead to continued peace in the Middle East, and instead of focus on those countries, those different representatives all working together, as opposed to the differences that had come through over the last few years of this ongoing war. The Israeli response that has killed tens of thousands of people, many of them civilians, in Gaza. And now perhaps the hardest work begins, which will be the work to rebuild Gaza and make it habitable again for the tens of thousands of people that were displaced from ongoing Israeli airstrikes, bombings, and more that have leveled parts of the Gaza Strip. So that is certainly the big story here in the world news department for us on this Monday afternoon. We can reset a bit now as we get going with the Wisconsin Live Desk, though we will bring you some more of the updates from the president's speech and from what was discussed there in Egypt. A monumental day today, and the hope that this could lead to lasting peace in the Middle East, although the work certainly continues when it comes to the future of Gaza and what that will look like under either Palestinian or Israeli control, and much of that still to be determined. Here locally, of course, the thing that we are tracking would be Game 1 of the NLCS tonight. We give you a live look at American Family Field, where we are just getting going with our Brewers coverage today. The roof closed. Of course, we had a series of rainstorms this morning, and much more to come from the ballpark, as thankfully the weather looks like it should mostly clear up between now and Game 1. First pitch scheduled for 7:08 tonight inside that very same ballpark. It is a rematch of the 2018 NLCS, with the Los Angeles Dodgers coming to town to face the Brewers, who advanced in that thrilling Game 5 over the weekend, taking out the rival Chicago Cubs in that game, and instead moving on, something they have not been able to do since that 2018 season. The story of the most recent Brewers during all this recent success was all the early exits from the playoffs. Well, finally they get that monkey off their back. They were able to win a postseason series and advance to face the Dodgers, and what a good series that should be today. A team that actually the Brewers had their number during the regular season in series before and after the All-Star break, kind of bookending the All-Star break there. The Brewers swept the Dodgers 6-0 against them this year, despite the disparity in payroll. Of course, the Dodgers' success being the World Series champs from a season ago. But the Brewers were the best team in baseball this year, and they certainly proved that against the reigning champs in those two series. Of course, all of that means nothing when you look ahead to Game 1 tonight and all the excitement that should happen inside of that ballpark. It's the first team to 4 wins advances to the World Series, and there you have the schedule for the first 4 games of the series. Tonight, that'll be 7:08 first pitch, same time, same place tomorrow for Game 2 at 7:08, and then the series shifts to LA for 2 and possibly 3 games, with Game 3 scheduled for Thursday at 5:08 and Game 4 back to that 7:08 Central Time start out in Los Angeles Then we get into the if necessary games, and you're seeing those three potentially here on screen right now. Game 5 would still be in Los Angeles Saturday, 7:08 Central Time. And then if the series does go to 6, we come back to Milwaukee. Right now that game is scheduled for 4:08, but that could also change as we saw with some of the Brewers' possibility in the NLDS. If the American League Championship Series is over by then, that game would likely get pushed farther back into prime time. But right now, Game 6, possibly on Monday, scheduled for 4:08. And if it goes the full 7, as it did in 2018 with the Dodgers winning in Milwaukee, this year's Game 7 scheduled for next Tuesday, the 21st, at 5:08 p.m. So that's kind of the lay of the land for the Brew Crew as we look ahead to Game 1 tonight. One of the big questions going in was who will be on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers, and to some degree that is still to be determined as they are still listing their starter tonight as TBD, to be determined, opposite the Dodgers throwing Blake Snell, the two-time Cy Young winner for them. The Dodgers have an absolutely stacked rotation that they will turn to. Well, for the Brewers, the strength is really with the bullpen, and they'll try to mix and match a lot of those power arms that they have coming out of the pen to piece together innings throughout. Pat Murphy, the manager we hope to hear from later today here on Fox Local, going with Freddie Peralta in Game 2. That's a lock, but still to be determined who will pitch at least as an opener tonight in Game 1, and then use a number of arms out of the bullpen after that for the Brewers. The tricky part with that is they were able to do that quite effectively against the Cubs, relying on so many of those different power arms, so many of them averaging the upper 90s, some even touching 100 miles per hour with their flame-throwing fastballs. They were able to piece those things together in the NLDS and eventually eliminate the Cubs. The schedule much trickier as we go from a best-of-5 series to now a best-of-7 series, and the number of off days is actually fewer in this series than it was during the NLDS. So against the Cubs, they had off days after Game 1, after Game 2, and then again after Game 4. So 3 different off days to kind of reset the bullpen, get those arms rest and healthy for the following game. In this case, it's a 2-3-2 series. So you get one off day to travel to Los Angeles after games 1 and 2. You get another possible off day if the series returns to Milwaukee for Game 6 and 7, but not as much chance for the Brewers to rest those different arms. To that degree, one of the pieces of news that we got relatively recently here on Fox Local, as well as to the rest of Major League Baseball, the roster announced for the National League Championship Series had to happen by this morning, so the Brewers released their roster mostly the same from what they went with for the NLDS, the division series against the Cubs. At least the makeup of position players and pitchers is the same, going with 12 pitchers and 14 position players. The Brewers favoring that because it gives them a lot of options in the lineup. You can kind of pick and choose, go with some platoon situations against the Dodgers' strong pitching. And then also there was the question of Jackson Chourio playing through that right hamstring issue. We saw him exit Game 1 of the NLDS against the Cubs quite early, was able to play through it, looked good, seemed to be getting healthier as the series went on, but also some coverage there with 14 position players on the roster. The question, though, becomes, again, with that extended series and not a lot of rest, do the Brewers have enough arms to carry them through that potentially long series, and a number of arms that can go the distance or at least go of multiple innings and try to cover you throughout the middle part. The one big change from the division series roster, Nick Mears, the right-handed reliever, was dropped from the Brewers roster. Instead, Tobias Myers was added, so providing a bit of length there. Although, again, with that makeup of position players and pitchers, 12 pitchers, 14 position players, there was a question of whether the Brewers would actually shift that a bit, add another pitcher to their NLCS roster to try to give them some more options out of the bullpen, some more guys who could piece together multiple innings and kind of carry them through the different games. Instead, they go with the same makeup. The one change, Nick Mears, who did pitch well in the NLCS, was quite solid. In fact, didn't surrender a single run, just one hit in 3 different outings against the Cubs. Instead, he's off in favor of Tobias Myers, looking ahead to the NLCS. So that's kind of where we are, the lay of the land, as the stage is set, so to speak, at American Family Field. We are still looking ahead to Game 1 of the NLCS tonight. The Dodgers have been the powerhouse team. We're going to get into this a little bit later in the Wisconsin Live Desk here, just the difference in makeup and kind of what this could mean for the future of baseball when it comes to an upcoming labor agreement with the big spending Dodgers up against one of the smallest markets around, the Milwaukee Brewers, who nonetheless have been the best team in baseball all season long. We shall see. A lot of fun, different storylines looking ahead to Game 1, but we have a lot of time to get to that here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are going to take a short break here on Wild, as we like to call it. We're with you here throughout the rest of the day, really, leading up to Game 1 tonight. I'll be with you through 2:30. Then we switch things over to Ben Handelman, where he is joined by some of our other Brewers favorites, including Brandon Cruz, Lily Zhao, Stephanie Quirk out and about with some of the fans as well. A lot more to come throughout the afternoon, all looking ahead to the baseball action at American Family Field this evening. All right, a short break on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and then we'll be right back with some other local news of the day after this. Thanks a lot for watching.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back. It is the Wisconsin Live Desk here with you on a Monday afternoon. Of course, the big story here locally, the Milwaukee Brewers, but we're going to get you to some of the other news of the day here as well. And for that, let's bring in our reporter on a very important story for us today. That would be Jason Calvi joining us live from Milwaukee here. Jason, why don't you get us up to speed on what happened over the weekend and what you're following today, all in the wake of this shooting by an off-duty Milwaukee police officer of a man named Elijah Wilkes, who died after that shooting. And there were a lot of different videos that came out, storylines as well following this. So get us up to speed with what happened over the weekend and where we are today.
Carl, I'm going to wait for that truck to by. So what happened was on Thursday, that shooting took place right here. We're on Mill Road, so we're in between 47th and 49th. This is where we are. This is where that accident took place on Thursday, and then there was what happened next. And so there was a lot of questions about what happened, but then on Friday, the mother of Elijah Wilkes, she was able to watch there was dash cam video. One of the cars, the police officer, off-duty police officer, had a dash camera video in his vehicle and captured the interaction between the off-duty officer and Elijah Wilkes. And after the family saw that, the mother saw that with attorney B. Ivory Lamar, they came out and said that what happened was the officer used justifiable force. He was justified in shooting and killing their son. What happened, they said in that video, was you can see Elijah take a gun in his hand and slap the officer in the face with that gun, and then they both kind of retreat. And on Friday during the news conference with Ivory Lamar, the attorney for the family, he said that first it appeared in that video, that dash cam video, that Elijah aimed his gun at the officer, and they said that meant that the officer was justified in using force against Elijah Wilkes. So here is the scene of where that all took place on Thursday. You can see candles and balloons and photos of Elijah Wilkes, a memorial here for him. But now his family on Friday did say that the police officer was justified in using that force. And over the weekend, there was some video that was released. That's why the camera's on the other side of the road, because I wanted to give you the vantage point, the surveillance video that was released by Lockhart Media. It's an online kind of video, shares video on social media. And he shared video of a surveillance camera from across the street, again, where the camera is. It was quite grainy. It was quite grainy video. You couldn't get a good sense of exactly what was taking place in that video. It all did take place very quickly. But so because of that video that was released publicly, surveillance video released publicly, the family came out today with their attorney, Ivory Lamar, the mother of Elijah Wilkes as well, and said they wanted to have MPD release that video right away. This is a different story from what they said on Friday. On Friday, they said they wanted 15 days. That's the maximum amount of time that the MPD video release policy allows, up to 15 days. So the video has to be released, according to that policy, at least 15 days after, the keyword is within 15 days of a critical incident, okay? So that's what the family had asked for on Friday, that they wanted that 15 days to allow the grieving process to take place. But now, because the surveillance video was released with the camera across the street, they said they want to see that video released right away to dispel any questions, any worries that people might have.
Much of this, Jason, did end up on social media, unfortunately. There was a lot of back and forth as well, and there is always heightened attention when any of these shootings involve a police officer, in this case an off-duty police officer, but still a member of the Milwaukee Police Department. Is that kind of the reason behind it for this family, trying to kind of lower the temperature, albeit while grieving the loss of their loved one, given what we've seen in that dash cam video, or they've seen that we have not so far from that dash cam video?
Yeah, Carl, the video that was in the dash cam was very clear, and that's the video that the mother saw, Ivory Lamar, the attorney, saw, and they want now everyone else to have the opportunity to see that. They said it's very clear that their loved one, Elijah Wilkes, they said, did something really wrong. He did attempt to strike the officer with a gun, and hitting him or slapping him with that gun. And they admitted on Friday that this is not in his character. This is what happened. They said yes, that officer was justified. So that's what they've been saying since Friday, since they saw that video. They really want to make sure that people know that they believe that officer was justified in shooting their loved one. And again, when there was a new video that was released over the weekend, again, they had wanted to make sure that the temperature comes down, that people have a chance to see the dash camera video, which was shot pretty much in the car that was right where I'm standing right here, that captured the interaction between the off-duty officer and Elijah Wilkes.
Yeah, there's a quote from one of Wilkes' aunts that says, quote, "He made a decision that he should not have made, and that is just something that we have to live with," while also hoping that the family has a chance to grieve and to recognize him as a son, a brother, a grandson, a nephew, according to that aunt. But yeah, from the family's perspective, obviously so difficult to go through the loss of a loved one, but quite big of them as well to be thinking about kind of that larger picture and how this narrative has changed already in the moments since that shooting, and trying to get back to what the truth is of what actually happened there. Let's get into the Milwaukee police policy then, because have we heard from the police department about when they plan to release that video, what's required, what seemed to be the plan with the family, and now if they have responded to this request from the family most recently?
So according to Standard Operating Procedure 537, I believe is the number, it lays out the entire process here for releasing evidence, releasing the video evidence of when an officer is involved with a death. So anytime there's an officer involved, death is what the policy calls it. That's their terminology. There's a whole process that needs to be that plays out. before that video is released. So within 48 hours, this is all the updated policy under which we're living right now. 48 hours after the incident, the family of the loved one is able, the next of kin actually is able to see that video. So that would be, in this case, the mother. And that was given to her within 24 hours. It was a little bit more than 24 hours. The next day, on Friday, she was able to watch that surveillance video, that dash cam video from outside of this location where I am right now on Mill Road. So that's what the policy lays out. First, it's the next of kin. They get a chance to watch that video within 48 hours after the incident. So in this instance, it was a day earlier than that. It was with a day after. The next step is that the police union's able to watch. In this instance, it's the Milwaukee Police Association. They were able to watch that video on Friday as well, and lawyers, and then also the district attorney is able to watch the video. And there's a consultation that will take place between the district attorney's office and MPD. So it'll be somebody from the district attorney's office is invited to watch that video as well. There'll be a consultation with the district attorney and the police department. And then there's a whole redaction process as well. So they have to redact certain materials. It's all laid out in the standard operating procedure. There's an opportunity for the family of the person who died to be able to ask for certain redactions as well. We're at the place now where the family of Elijah folks is saying they want that video released right away.
All right, and we'll see where that goes. Jason, thank you very much. Of course, staying on this for us. If there is an update from Milwaukee Police, he will have it for us both here on Fox Local. You can check out fox6now.com or our regularly scheduled newscasts as well. Jason, thank you so much. A very difficult story for that family, for this community, but one that we have deemed important that you're sticking on for us today. So thank you very much for joining us here for a little bit on the live desk. You can look for Jason's story later today on our newscast, which today will be the early ones here on Fox Local as well. That's because of the ALCS taking place on Fox streaming here in the Milwaukee metro area. All right, we have to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll see what we find right after this. Thanks a lot for checking out Fox Local and the Wisconsin Live Desk, streaming for you all day, every day. We're here for you.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here as we keep things rolling here on day one of the NLCS. Game one is tonight at American Family Field. We'll get you back to some of your Brewers coverage throughout the rest of our time here on Fox Local. We also are hoping to bring you Air Force One's departure from Egypt. We had a feed, but it went down. So if it comes back up, we'll try to catch that for you. President Donald Trump eventually returning home after a whirlwind trip to the Middle East. First to speak in Israel, where he was greeted with overwhelming positive response from the Israelis there, pleased with the release finally of the 20 surviving hostages from the initial attack and kidnappings of Hamas on October 7th of 2023, the ensuing peace deal that then the president went to Egypt to take part in the signing ceremony as well, with more than 20 other world leaders taking part in that. And the president even kind of hosted the press availability, the media briefing with those different world leaders in Egypt. So if that shot of Air Force One gets back up, we'll try to carry that for you here on the live desk. Now, the other thing we want to tell you about right now is still happening out in Los Angeles, or more specifically Torrance, California, as you're seeing some of the reporters and photographers at work here. This is outside of a local school there. We'll get you an aerial view of what's happening, as it appears to be a law enforcement response after 3 different staff members were stabbed by a former student at this school in Torrance, California this morning. All of that according to the Torrance Police Department. So far, what our reporting partners, our sister station out in the Los Angeles area, FOX11, has told us, or what we've heard, this stabbing was reported around 8:15 local time, so that would be about 10:15 Central for us back here in Milwaukee, at Switzer Learning Center, which is a private K-12 special education school. According to police, 3 staff members were stabbed. The former student then attempted to stab a 4th person before leaving the scene. 2 of those staff members were hospitalized for non-life-threatening injuries, and that 3rd staff member was treated on scene. So we do not believe that there will be a loss of life here, at least for those staff members. While the ex-student was being taken into custody, he allegedly told police that he had placed 2 pipe bombs in the vicinity of this neighborhood, which is what you're seeing right now. The response from law enforcement appears to be looking for those potential explosive devices. So the video here appeared to show a knife and a backpack on this grassy area by the school. That was in previous video that we have for you from this helicopter. And now, as you're seeing, it appears law enforcement is doing a search of the area with a robotic device. So far, police in this area are advising people to avoid the entire area. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department bomb squad is that device investigating this right now, looking into the report of a bomb threat from that person who allegedly stabbed multiple staff members. The big question, the motive right now, we do not know, but we do know that it was a former student. Why that person has decided to come back to the school and apparently stabbed 3 different members of the staff at this K-12 special education school remains unclear. So we're getting a lot of this by the minute. This is the view aerially of that school, and let me look this up for you real quick. Torrance, California is just outside of the Los Angeles area. I'm pulling this up on our maps for you right now, kind of south and southwest of Los Angeles City proper, between LA and Long Beach, California. So pretty close to the Pacific Ocean there, but that is where this school stabbing has taken place this morning in Los Angeles County. And again, much of this coming from our sister station, KTTV, Fox 11 News in Los Angeles. The former student is in police custody after allegedly stabbing 3 of those school members, staff members, and trying to stab a 4th at this school in Torrance. 2 of the victims taken to the hospital, though they do apparently have non-life-threatening injuries. A 3rd was treated at the scene, but didn't have bad enough injuries that required a trip to the hospital. So again, all of this kind of coming to us by the moment. Our sister station is out there. If we get some updates from them on what's happening in California, we'll try to bring that to you here on Fox Local. But that's the latest we have for you from the West Coast and from Southern California on this Monday afternoon local time here in the Midwest. Now, of course, interesting as we get you back to the story of the day here in the Milwaukee area, and that would be Game 1 of the NLCS coming tonight. Welcome to Fox Local. If you're just tuning in for this coverage here, it is 1 o'clock on Fox Local in Milwaukee, where that means we are just 6 hours, 8 minutes away from the first pitch of the 2025 NLCS, a rematch of the 2018 NLCS between the Brewers and the Dodgers. And just as was the case 7 years ago, the Brewers, the home team in this, meaning they get to host games 1 and 2 and a possible game 6 and 7 of the series if it goes the distance, a 2-3-2 format used for the championship series in Major League Baseball. We have a lot to get into in terms of the different storylines, the key players here for you, looking ahead to the game tonight. But how about some of the fun as well? The Brewers have been all over stuff throughout this postseason run, and what a magical season it has been. One of the things you have to look forward to, they were so successful with that watch party they hosted for the NL Division Series when the team was down in Chicago. They're going to do it again for Game 3 of the NLCS once it shifts to LA. So yes, we're focused on the games here in Milwaukee for tonight and tomorrow night, but then Game 3 out in Los Angeles, if you can make the trip all the way out there to Dodger Stadium, you can watch it right here at home. That'll be at Davidson Park, the same site that they had for one of the watch parties during the NLDS. Will be the same site again for Thursday's game. First pitch right now, 5:08 Central Time, so that's when you can check it out. They'll probably open the park early, as they did for that previous watch party as well. All kinds of things to check out when it comes to the activities and the fun with this. First pitch will be seen on that 200-inch TV screen. Yeah, that's a little bigger than what I have at home for the live game viewing. It's free admission as well, so that's great. And just like they had in the NLDS, there will be some additional screens you can check out if you don't have a good view of the big one. Local food trucks will be on hand, a number of them, offering up everything from tacos and pizza to ice cream and popcorn. There'll be all kinds of tailgate games for you, face painting. You can make your own pennant, a DIY craft, probably more for the kids, but also for the fans at heart, kids at heart there. You can make a pennant as the Brewers try to win the pennant in the NLCS. Also an on-site DJ providing the tunes and the energy there with, of course, you can't have a Brewers event without the racing sausages and the mascots, right? So Bernie Brewer, Barrelman, the racing sausages, the 4-1 Force will all be on site, taking photos with fans, trying to drum up the energy from afar while the team faces the Dodgers. Again, that will be Game 3 of the series on Thursday. First and foremost, though, we got to get through Game 1 and then Game 2 in Milwaukee tomorrow. So that's a few of the different things that we're tracking for you here just past the 1 o'clock hour on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I was having some fun looking up the different notes and history of these teams, both this season and going back. I mean, it is a testament to how two different franchises do this, right? For the Dodgers, they are trying to become the first team to go back-to-back in 25 years. They won the World Series a season ago. It goes back to the New York Yankees dynasty, the Jeter era, back in the late 90s, 98, 99, and 2000, when they had the triple threat there, winning 3 years in a row. That's the last time any team has gone back-to-back in Major League Baseball. So the Dodgers trying to do that for the first time in 25 years. While for the Brewers, of course, this would be potentially the chance to make just the second World Series in franchise history, the first coming in 1982 when the Brewers, as a member of the American League at the time, lost in Game 7 to the St. Louis Cardinals in that epic series there, and so many of them huge names, all-timers for the crew, part of that 1982 World Series appearance. The Brewers have consistently made the playoffs, much like the Dodgers. For LA, they have won the NL West 12 of the last 13 years, an absolute juggernaut out there in the NL West. While for the Brewers, they have made the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, 5 of those NL Central winning seasons, but only the one World Series appearance back in 1982 to show for it, and there's been so many of those early exits for the Brewers until we've gotten to the series this year, the NLDS, where they were able to finally vanquish the Cubs and advance to the NLCS. Now, if you're wondering, if you've been watching today and curious about the game, maybe you're going to tailgate, maybe you're heading out to a bar, a watch party tonight, it has been raining off and on throughout the morning. We had gorgeous sunrises, actually, but then the rain that has come throughout the morning and now into the afternoon here in the Milwaukee area. Well, the good news from our weather experts back there in the weather office, looking good tonight. So that rain should be cleared. You may see some puddles and some wet spots of the tailgate lots and getting to the ballpark tonight. But the actual rain falling from the sky won't be an issue for fans. Of course, it's never an issue for the players when you have a roof over the stadium, but for the fans getting in, hoping to tailgate, drum up the energy beforehand, shouldn't be an issue tonight. Here's the forecast from our weather experts. 66 degrees at 4 p.m., 62 degrees by the time first pitch happens just after 7 o'clock, and potentially when they're leaving the ballpark, not much cooler, 61 degrees by around 10 o'clock tonight. The wind's calm as well. So honestly, for mid-October here, you never know what you're going to get with baseball's postseason, of course, stretching instead of the boys of summer into the boys of fall here. But beautiful weather, as we had for much of the NLDS series, carries over to Game 1 tonight for the NLCS. Now, the rest of the week, a little bit more dicey. I forget the exact forecast for tomorrow, but it's kind of off and on with some rain chances the rest of the week. So we'll see what's in store for a Game 2. But for Game 1, a chance for the Brewers to get some of the fun there. And let's get our producer in the booth, Carrie. So this was the watch party for the Brewers and Cubs last series. Actually, stand by. We might be a little outdated with that. So we'll go back to the forecast for tonight. That would be the nice temperatures in the 60s from our weather experts back there. We'll get you the forecast for Thursday's game as well when the watch party happens. They had great weather for that outdoor watch party against the Cubs at Davidson Park. We'll see what's in store for the watch party against the Dodgers here. All right, we're having some fun here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Always great when you get to talk ball, and the Brewers have provided many opportunities to do that this season. This magical run, and that's what the saying has been, magic brew for the crew heading into the postseason. We'll see if it can continue and take it to a place the franchise has only reached once before, back in that absolute joy of a 1982 season for Milwaukee Brewers fans. We shall see. All right, we're going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Much more to come. We'll try to keep an eye on things for you out in California, that breaking news that we were following, as well as what's happening overseas when it comes to the peace deal reached between Israel and Hamas. All of that still to come here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We have a number of different things we're following for you here at this hour 1:10 on your Monday afternoon. I'm Carl Deffenbaugh. I'll be with you here until 2:30, and then we switch it over to even more beefed up Brewers coverage for you ahead of Game 1 of the NLCS. We'll just pop this up for you momentarily. This is where we will bring you the live feed of a number of different Brewers, and then Pat Murphy, in addition to that, previewing the NLCS once they do their required media availability coming up a little bit later today. That will include Jackson Churio on the mix for today. So you'll get to hear a number of the different players and Pat Murphy. Murphy, I'm sure, will be questioned about that decision to swap out Tobias Myers, instead Nick Mears, off of the playoff roster for the NLCS. Tobias Myers takes over that spot in the rotation, or I should say in the bullpen for the Brewers, still going with 12 position players, 12 pitchers, 14 position players. There we go. I'll get it straight eventually for Game 1 tonight and the rest of the series to follow. So Murphy will be asked about that. Of course, he was a part of that last run to the NLCS that the Brewers put together with Craig Counsell calling the shots, but Pat Murphy, the bench coach for Counsell back in 2018, now he gets to be the person mixing all the decisions in there, when to take a guy out, when to bring in a different person, when to pinch hit. All of that is up to Pat Murphy, who, let's just say, has been quite good at those decisions over his now 2 years leading the crew. NL Manager of the Year last year, best record in baseball. Who knows, maybe he'll win the award again this season as well, so we'll see. All right, we had that graphic pop up shortly for the tailgate forecast for Thursday's Game 3. That's when the series shifts to Los Angeles. A lot of people not going to be as easily able to make the trip to LA as some of the Brewers fans were able to do with Chicago last week. So the Brewers once again are hosting a watch party for the away game, and this is that weather that we had for you teased just a little bit ago. While we look ahead to Game 1 tonight, Game 3, they will be hosting the watch party at Davidson Park once again, like they did during the NLDS just last week. So Brewers, Dodgers, 64 degrees for the outdoor watch party. That's good because there are some evening sprinkles maybe, but not a full washout for folks who want to watch that game, which will start at 5:08 Central Time here in Milwaukee. That would be 3:08 if I'm doing my math correctly there, out at Dodger Stadium. So also means the potential to catch a sunset on the broadcast if the game goes a little bit longer that night. There's nothing like watching a sunset at Dodger Stadium for baseball fans. Pretty magical place, and that's not saying anything about who you're rooting for, just some of the history of the game and all the great players that have passed through there in that beautiful Chavez Ravine ballpark there. All right, we give you a few other updates on this. Actually, you know what? We got some breaking news from the NFL. How about we do that? The Packers had a nice win yesterday. This has nothing to do with them. The Tennessee Titans instead have fired their head coach, Brian Callahan, out just 6 games into his second season as the team's head coach. Callahan, just 4-19 as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, and just 1-5 this season. They had the number 1 pick in last year's draft. Cam Ward has been the team's starting quarterback, but a lot of upheaval there, as the president of football operations for the Titans said, after extended conversations with our owner and general manager, we met with Brian Callahan this morning to tell him we are making a change at head coach. These decisions are never easy, and they become more difficult when they involve people of great character. We are grateful for Brian's investment in the Titans and the Tennessee community during his tenure as head coach. We thank him and his family for being exemplary ambassadors of the Tennessee Titans. So, remains to be seen what happens for the Titans, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and deciding to shake things up after Brian Callahan could not get it done in a season plus leading the Titans. 4-19 overall and just 1-5 this season. That's with the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, getting his early snaps of his NFL career, and clearly not going too well for the Tennessee Titans so far. They're not the worst team in football, at least not record-wise. That would go to the New York Jets, who fell to 0-6 yesterday after an ugly loss to the Denver Broncos in London. But still, the Tennessee Titans not performing well on the field. They lost to the Raiders, who also aren't quite very good this year, 20-10 yesterday in Las Vegas. And a day later, the first axe falls for the NFL this season. Brian Callahan out as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. So there you go. Maybe for some of you who have some fantasy interest and the like, if you have a Tennessee Titan on your team, you probably have not been doing so well, but that leads to the end of Brian Callahan's tenure in Tennessee, short-lived as it was. All right, one of the other updates we want to give you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, President Donald Trump has departed the Middle East right now. He has left Egypt, which was the second stop on a whirlwind day, taking him first to Israel for a speech to Israelis there, and then to Egypt for the signing of this Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal. Air Force One, if you're following and tracking this, wheels up at 9:07 p.m. local time. So that was just a few minutes ago, 1:07 here Central Time back in the Midwest. The president leaving the Middle East on his way back to the United States, where more work awaits. The government shutdown is now in day 12, I believe. So some work in the Capitol once he returns to Washington, D.C. Democrats and Republicans remain at a stalemate, while this was a monumental breakthrough for the possibility of peace in the Middle East, agreed upon between Israel and Hamas. And the president got to make a number of those announcements and kind of lead the signing ceremony today, featuring more than 20 world leaders from around the globe. That included the Pakistan leader, who said that he was going to nominate President Donald Trump, that he had, for the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to promote peace. The Prime Minister of Pakistan doing that in glowing fashion as part of that Gaza ceasefire summit, with the Prime Minister of Pakistan saying that President Donald Trump was the most genuine and wonderful candidate for the Peace Prize. We shall see what comes of that. All right, we're going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We keep it rolling next. It is 1:16. Still a lot to get to, but we're going to enjoy a quick 2 minutes and get back with you on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Hey, welcome back. Carl Defenbaugh with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We keep things rolling almost through our first hour, but we have many more to come on this game day for the Milwaukee Brewers. Game 1 in the NLCS coming to you a bit later tonight from Milwaukee. We will have full coverage of that leading up to the game here on Fox Local and our different newscasts. I do want to give you a quick update on that breaking news we were following out of California. This is a live shot from the helicopter from our reporting partners out there at Fox 11 KTTV's Chopper. I believe this is returning to the airport now at this point, although it's kind of a cool view of what seems to be a bit of a stormy day out there. You can see some raindrops on the lens as the helicopter's flying over, I believe, the Pacific Ocean shoreline there in California. So some good news to report, as it appears that all of the people believed to be injured will be okay in this school stabbing. So the reason that we had this helicopter shot was it was hovering over Switzer Learning Center in Torrance, California. That's just due south of Los Angeles, where this helicopter was hovering over the scene of this school. 3 different staff members stabbed by a former student, and it appeared that the student was trying to stab a 4th at the Switzer Learning Center before police were able to stop that person. The former student is in custody. A motive for this still unclear. That school, by the way, is a private K-12 special education school in Torrance, California. And according to police, 2 of the staff members were hospitalized but with non-life-threatening injuries, and the 3rd staff member was treated on scene but did not require hospitalization. So that's the good news. While we watch the helicopter from our sister station out in LA, appears to be flying over the coastline there and returning. So good news, I believe, that the helicopter has left the scene. There was a report of apparently while the student was being taken into custody, a report that he'd allegedly told police he had 2 pipe bombs, hidden them in the vicinity, or placed 2 pipe bombs in that area. But police were looking. They were using the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department bomb squad to investigate that reported threat. Now, in the meantime, it appears, wow, this helicopter has found something else instead. This is quite the scene from California. Again, this helicopter from our reporting partners with Fox 11 in Los Angeles appears to have found a helicopter, I believe, or perhaps a small plane that has crashed into a building along the California coast. It looks like it might be Huntington Beach from what I'm trying to read over that bridge overpass, but I don't want to say that for sure at this point. Instead, wow, that is quite the scene for us to come across today. Not obviously sure what is happening with this, but we'll try to get you reports from our sister station out in Los Angeles. This had been a helicopter that was covering a school stabbing, but instead has moved locations, appears to have found, I believe that is a helicopter that has crashed and taken down some palm trees right into a building there outside of, as you're seeing on the sign, a Hyatt Regency just along the coastline. We were tracking this shot just because, honestly, we wanted to give you an update on that school stabbing and kind of sum up what we had for you earlier on Fox Local. And instead, that same helicopter appears to have come across or been sent to some other breaking news. So quite a busy and scary day for our reporting partners out there in Los Angeles. And I'm just getting some information here from our producer, Carrie, who sent us this from our sister station. Yeah, helicopter crashed in Huntington Beach. So it was, in fact, Huntington Beach, California. 5 people, including a child, hospitalized. So quite a scary scene, and you can see why, given the aftermath of this, capturing live right now. As you can see, investigators working their way around the wreckage, the FAA there on site looking into the helicopter, trying to gather some information here. And all of this scene was caught on video as well. The helicopter was tied to an event scheduled for Sunday, an event called Cars and Copters. Many people just trying to enjoy a day at the beach on this Monday while helicopters were positioned for Sunday's event. That all changed around 2 p.m. yesterday. So this is getting ready for this event. Instead, this is the aftermath. I guess I should highlight that. This appears to be the aftermath of something that happened yesterday, Sunday afternoon, around 2 p.m. local time in California. But still today, the FAA is on site investigating and looking into this helicopter crash in Huntington Beach. One of the people who was attending this said, quote, literally right over my head, the back of this helicopter was kind of fishtailing around. That person saying, oh, shoot, that thing's going to crash. And another, that same person, Kurt Johnson, telling our sister station in L.A., it was almost like something in a nightmare, and you can certainly see why. There is different video that the station has showing the helicopter kind of spinning down toward the Pacific Coast Highway, that famous highway up and down the ocean coast there. Instead, it suddenly dropped and crashed near the road, and onlookers watched the helicopter instead fly towards, thankfully, an empty parking lot before it began spinning out of control. One other woman who was visiting from out of state said it was kind of traumatizing. Our hearts were beating fast, so worried for the people over there. Now, emergency crews did get to the area quite quickly. The helicopter was seen kind of wedged between, as it is today, those palm trees and nearby hotel. The NTSB is leading the investigation, as you're seeing live now. The FAA also on scene, still documenting the wreckage, taking little minuscule pictures of the parts while also looking at the larger cabin of that helicopter. But quite a scary scene for folks out in Huntington Beach, California. We know from when this happened yesterday, 5 people, including a child, hospitalized after the helicopter crash. Now, what this doesn't detail is whether those people were on the ground, whether they were on board that helicopter, perhaps a mix of both. But they're getting the wide angle, right off the beach there in Huntington Beach. So remains to be seen, but our helicopter reporting partners from our sister station out in LA doing some follow-up reporting today with the FAA on the scene of that crash and getting some fresh footage that we just happened to stumble upon and take for you live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk after that helicopter crash tied to an event yesterday, Sunday, Cars and Copters in Southern California. All right, what do you say we take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk? We've gotten a lot for you already, but time to take another quick couple minutes. We'll be back on the other side with more of your Brewers coverage and anything else that happens, because that's the beauty of the Wisconsin Live Desk. When things pop up on the feeds, we're able to take them live for you right in the moment and figure it out on the fly as you are with us. So thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back after 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Leffenbaugh back with you as we get here to 1:30, almost 1:29 Central Time in Milwaukee. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk. We have a number of different things planned for you over the next hour or so and then the next few hours leading up to Game 1 of the NLCS tonight at American Family Field. But we want to bring you something happening on the East Coast now. This just popped up on one of our feeds, so let's get you there live to some of the music and the songs happening, all to commemorate the 250th anniversary, and let me stop while the national anthem is played.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Retire the colors.
And what you're watching here now, apologies for stepping on the end of the national anthem there, didn't realize that was what was being performed, is the Navy 250 commemoration, honoring 250 years of the U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps, the 250th celebration happening outside of Philadelphia, the Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts. That's because of some inclement weather in the area today. They had to move this celebration inside, but a number of different things coming. So let's listen in, because it's not just the national anthem that you just heard there. We missed the invocation as well, but God Bless America will be performed by the Navy Ceremonial Band and many other remarks. Let's listen into some of what's happening.
In every heart of naval service, the fires of courage, valor, and that most sublime of all qualities, duty. For 250 years, O God, these words have proven true as sailors and Marines of every generation have met the demand of the hour. Against enemies who've challenged our principles, foes who've attacked a cherished way of life, and adversaries who would dam up the currents of freedom under which our humanity flourishes, O God, you have been our strength. Let no moral broadside shake our faith. Forbid any corrosive spirit to weaken our ability to live up to our highest ideals. Prevent any hesitation that would keep us from running engines at full speed ahead when decisive action is needed. And may our uniform every day remind us of our sacred pledge to serve, to give, and to love. O Lord, you are sovereign above the nations. May we remember our frame, that we are but dust, and with the little time we have, with faith undimmed and vigor unabated, preserve all that is good, and lead our naval service in the way that is true, to the praise of your holy name. Amen.
Please be seated.
Philadelphia is the birthplace of our Navy and a city that has stood shoulder to shoulder with America's heroes since the very beginning. To represent the great city of Philadelphia, please welcome the Honorable Sherelle Parker, Mayor of the City of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to acknowledge Secretary Phelan and Chief Naval Officer Darrell Cottle, Lieutenant General James Carter, and Vice Admiral John Gumbleton, Lieutenant General Bobby Shea, and a gentleman who was renamed during the gala by Sal, the godfather of Homecoming 250, George Leone. Please give them a round of applause. Secretary Phelan and distinguished military leaders, honored sailors and Marines, veterans and families, and my fellow Philadelphians, what an honor it is for me as mayor of the city of Philadelphia to be with each of you on today. Now, I know that our original plan was to stand in the shadow of Independence Hall, on the very ground where the dream of the Continental Navy was born. But as any good sailor or Marine knows, you have to adapt to the conditions. And so while the weather may have changed our location, it cannot and will not dampen our spirit, and it definitely cannot diminish our pride. We extend, that's all right for you to give that a round of applause. It won't diminish our pride. I want you to know that it's appropriate that we extend our sincere thanks to the Kimmel Center for opening its beautiful doors to the Navy, the city of Philadelphia, and everyone assembled here today. It is fitting that we gather at an institution that, quite frankly, has a proud tradition of civic and cultural service. With that being said, can we please give a round of applause for the Kimmel Center's leadership for giving our celebration a home. We thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, 250 years ago, it was right here in Philadelphia that Congress authorized the purchase of 2 vessels to defend our fledgling ideals. From that very simple act, a mighty force was born. The city became the cradle of an American sea power. The Philadelphia Navy Yard, it wasn't just a place of wood and steel. It was a testament to our city's grit and ingenuity, building the ships that would sail into history. From these waters, we remember. From this city, we serve. That history is not just in a storybook for us. It is a living legacy embodied by the sailors and Marines with us today. It is a legacy of courage, of commitment, and my favorite of all, service above self. So today we celebrate the 250-year legacy of the United States Navy with music that stirs the soul and reflections that honor the past. And soon we will share in a tradition that is powerful as it is profound, the cake cutting ceremony. I want you to know that someone had to write a dissertation to explain to the mayor of Philadelphia what the cake cutting ceremony meant. But I learned that with the ceremonial saber, the oldest sailor and the youngest sailor present will cut the birthday cake together. And this isn't just about dessert. It's a symbol of the unbreakable chain that links one generation to the next. It signifies the passing of wisdom, experience, and the sacred duty of the warrior to protect and defend our nation. It is a promise made and a promise kept year after year. So today, let us celebrate the enduring bond between Philadelphia and our sea services. Let us honor every person who has ever stood watch at home and in the furthest corners of the world. And let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting them and their families just as they have always supported us. As the very proud granddaughter of a United States Navy veteran, I want you to know that I thank each of you. Our mantra here is that we are one Philly, a united city, and celebrating this birthday celebration for the Navy reminds us that we are one America, a united nation. Happy 250th birthday to our amazing United States Navy. Thank you.
Good music. Okay, our next speaker is a proud representative of the great host city, serving as Councilwoman at Large for the city of Philadelphia. Please welcome Councilwoman Nina Ahmad.
Good afternoon, distinguished leaders, sailors, and Marines. On behalf of Philadelphia City Council and our Council President, Kenyatta Johnson, I'm honored to welcome you to Marian Anderson Hall. It feels fitting that when the weather pushed us indoors, we gathered in a hall named for a barrier-breaking American who used her voice to bring this country closer to its ideals. I thank all of you for fighting to make sure every American has a right to prosper and to be a full citizen. Today, we lift up another American institution that has done the same for 250 years, the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps. Philadelphia is the Navy's birthplace. Just a short walk from here, the Continental Congress authorized our first ships. Nearby, the Marine Corps took root. Our waterfront built vessels that carried generations of Americans into harm's way and home again. And our neighborhoods, union halls, churches, synagogues, mosques, and community centers sent sons and daughters to serve with courage and quiet dignity. I also want to ground this celebration in the people who wear and support the uniform right here in our city. Philadelphia is home to one of the Navy's largest civilian engineering commands, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Philadelphia Division, with roughly 2,800 civilian engineers, scientists, technicians, and support staff at the Navy Yard. In the far Northeast, naval support activity employs more than 1,000 people, including sailors, civilians, and veterans. And across our neighborhoods, nearly 70,000 veterans call Philadelphia home. Together, that's thousands of Navy people living and working amongst us every day. This week's Homecoming 250 reminds us that history is not only in our archives, it's living in our people. From ship tours and concerts to exhibits and community gatherings, these events knit together our past and our future as a maritime city and a nation of service. As the chair of Council Public Health and Human Services, I see the whole family behind the uniform. Spouses who hold down 2 jobs, children who learn resilience early, and veterans who bring leadership home to our blocks and our businesses. Our commitment must match theirs through strong schools and career pathways into shipbuilding, advanced manufacturing, through mental health care and housing for veterans, and through a city that says, we have got your back. To our sailors and Marines, past and present, thank you. The Navy has guarded the seas, protected commerce, delivered humanitarian relief, and deterred conflict. The Marine Corps has answered the hardest calls first, from ship to shore, and always faithful to mission and to one another. To our Gold Star families and those who bear visible and invisible wounds, you carry a weight the rest of us cannot see. We honor you today and every day. I want to share that I have prepared an official City Council citation to commemorate this Navy 250 homecoming, and I'm proud to present it today to Homecoming 250 and our partners in gratitude for honoring the Navy's legacy and for bringing our city together to celebrate. Happy 250th birthday to the United States Navy. Philadelphia is proud of you, grateful to you, and with you always. Thank you.
Here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, you've been enjoying some of the speeches there at the Navy 250 commemoration, honoring 250 years of the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. This coming to you from downtown Philadelphia. They had to, because of some of the weather, move it inside of the Performing Arts Center there in Philly, which, as you heard in some of the speeches, the birthplace of the U.S. Navy going back to the beginning of this country. And of course, actually before that, the Revolutionary War getting started before the U.S. became an official country there ahead of the 250th celebrations for our nation next year. We do have to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll see if we can catch some more of the celebrations and commemorations happening in Philly, while also looking ahead to Game 1 of the NLCS tonight here in Milwaukee. Much more to come after this quick break on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Defenbaugh with you here, 1:50 as we are approaching more and more of our Brewers coverage. We give you another live look at American Family Field there, some of the traffic as well, getting to the ballpark, getting around some of the construction on 94 in both directions there. American Family Field likely going to have the roof closed tonight. It was raining earlier in the day, continues to be wet out there, though it is supposed to clear up. We'll give you our Brewers game night forecast from our team of weather experts back there in the weather office. Should be beautiful for your tailgating and getting inside the ballpark. Mid-60s for the tailgate, low 60s by the time you're heading into the game and getting out afterwards. But all things considered, pretty nice weather for Game 1 of the NLCS tonight. And we are, of course, just gearing up for the continuation of this historic Brewers season. So we get Games 1 and 2 here in Milwaukee at American Family Field. And then the series shifts to Los Angeles for Game 3 on Thursday, Game 4 on Friday, a possible Game 5 on Saturday. And if the series goes longer than that, Games 6 and 7 would be back in Milwaukee Monday and Tuesday, that 2-3-2 format they use for the championship series and eventually, for one of those teams, the World Series as well. So remains to be seen. But we are mentioning Thursday's game specifically, even though we're focused on tonight's Game 1, because of a special edition of Fox 6 News that we'll have for you when the series shifts to Los Angeles. So the reason for this, Fox this year and Fox Sports 1 have the American League Championship Series. So today, for example, as Game 1 of the NLCS is the focus here, we will have the ALCS for you on Fox in the Milwaukee metro area. Because of that, we'll have our newscasts on Fox Local for you today. Then looking ahead to Thursday night, which is the early game for the Brewers, a 5:08 first pitch Central Time for that first game in Los Angeles. The American League, once again, kind of takes the cake for Thursday night's newscast. So we will have a special edition of Fox 6 News for you on Fox Local. That's Thursday at 9 p.m. Should time out perfectly with the aftermath of Game 3, no matter which way the series is leaning at that point. But we will have a special Brewers edition of Fox 6 News for you Thursday at 9 p.m. here on Fox Local. That's the same night as that watch party the Brewers will be throwing at Davidson Park. But we want to get you back to, there you go, the info on the watch party Game 3 Thursday, so you can head on out, and then when you get home or while you're watching from there, pull us up on Fox Local on your mobile device. You can check out more coverage of the series. But that's the information for the Brewers official watch party for Game 3 Thursday night. There'll be food trucks, all kinds of tailgate games. The mascots will be on hand. Bernie, Barrelman, and the Racing Sausages should be a party at Davidson Park on that Thursday. But of course, we got to get through Games 1 and 2 first. Some of the other notes and nuggets that we found for you here ahead of Game 1 of the NLCS. This is an interesting one, I think, and I'd encourage you, even though it's not our coverage, to go find this article written by ESPN's one of their lead baseball writers, Jeff Passan, about just what this series could mean for the future of baseball. Listen to the lead of this article here. The winner of the National League Championship Series could determine if Major League Baseball is played in 2027. That is quite the opening statement and salvo as we look ahead to the series, but here's why. The collective bargaining agreement between the owners and the players union is set to expire December of 2026, so that would be a full season next year, and then potentially the expiration of this contract. And already the sides are kind of lining up for a fight here, with Major League Baseball owners really strongly wanting a salary cap, while baseball's players union is vehemently against this, and that could be kind of where things shake out. So why the focus on this Brewers-Dodgers series? Well, it's the nature of how you win in today's game that many people are looking at this series as kind of a measuring stick. The Brewers are, of course, one of the smallest markets in Major League Baseball. Their payroll hovers around $115 million. They do not necessarily sign people through free agency. Instead, many of their stars have been acquired either by rising through the ranks of the minor league system or by trade and development here in Milwaukee. Whereas the Dodgers, we know this, they throw big money at any of their problems, and we're talking like $500 million in payroll. They have a record payroll, I believe, above $500 million, where again, the Brewers are just over $100 million. So depending on the math, basically like 4 times, 5 times as much as the Brewers spend is what the Dodgers are spending. Now, Major League Baseball kind of using that as an example of, look, if this team is doing all this, it takes the ability of other teams to compete and throws it out the window when one team can spend $500 million and others can't necessarily keep up with that. The reason many baseball owners want a salary cap. Whereas for the union, the Brewers are kind of their champion here, saying, look, we have a salary, if we do not have a salary cap, and look at this, 2 teams can end up in the exact same position right now, taking different paths to that end. The Dodgers spending big money, the Brewers doing it their way, and we still end up here where the Brewers had the best record in baseball throughout the regular season and are certainly in contention, if not the favorites, going into the NLCS tonight. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, some of the coverage nationally around this matchup. Of course, the Brewers fans just want to win. They want to get back to the World Series for the first time since 1982 and just the second time in franchise history, but at least some of those national writers, prognosticators, some of the people keeping an eye on things long term with the game of baseball find this series quite interesting and quite notable going in to tonight's Game 1 of the NLCS. A lot of different storylines, a lot of different interest in Brewers-Dodgers tonight, and we'll see what happens. The Brewers, by the way, still haven't said who's going to pitch first for them tonight. They have their postseason roster out, and we'll pop that up for you here, making the decision to sub out Nick Mears in place of Tobias Myers, but that's the only change for the roster from the NLDS, who played for the Brewers, to who they will have available for the NLCS. We don't have the lineups for tonight's Game 1 yet, so the Brewers still have that TBD for their starting pitcher, although we can certainly kind of expect that to be an opener situation, someone that can go an inning, a few innings, and then turn things over to the bullpen to get the Brewers started. Whereas for the Dodgers, they will be going with one of those big-name players for them with a big contract, Blake Snell, the 2-time Cy Young winner, who has battled some injuries, but when he's been healthy, he has been absolutely lights out, including in this year's postseason. So we'll see what's in store tonight, 7:08, the first pitch for the Brewers and the Dodgers at American Family Field. And we'll mention for the much more near future of our coverage here on Fox Local, this is the feed that we will be bringing you live interviews with a number of the players ahead of the game today. Scheduled to speak this afternoon, Jackson Churio, Freddie Peralta, who will pitch for the Crew in Game 2, we know that, and Abner Uribe, who shut down the Cubs over those final 2 innings Saturday night to clinch the NLDS. That will also include Pat Murphy. The player is scheduled to speak around 2:15, so just over 15 minutes from now. Pat Murphy is scheduled to speak at 3 p.m. All of that we expect to bring you live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. While I'm still with you, of course, here the players should be up, and then Pat Murphy will be when Ben Handelman takes over for me here with our expanded Brewers coverage on Fox Local. With that, we do have to take a short break. We want to make sure we time things out perfectly for when those players step to the podium. So a quick 2 minutes here on the Live Desk, and we'll be back with more Brewers coverage for you after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here. And how about this? We have some breaking news at 2 o'clock as we get you back to American Family Field, looking ahead to Game 1 of the NLCS, now just 5 hours away. 7:08 the first pitch tonight. Just before we went to a break there, we were mentioning that the Brewers were still TBD when it came to who is going to pitch tonight. To get things started, not expecting this to be a traditional starting pitcher that would try to go, 5, 6, 7 innings, but instead going with Aaron Ashby. That is the news that just happened moments ago, so can tell you that now. They have made a decision, Pat Murphy and his team of coaches there, the analysts, of course, in the department, going with Aaron Ashby as the starter, kind of that opener sense for the Brewers tonight. We'll see how long he can go. Had a similar role in the series against the Cubs. Kind of dicey, had one inning where he was okay, one where he gave up some runs, but Aaron Ashby will try to get the Brewers started tonight against that talented Los Angeles Dodgers lineup. Here's the good news. Ashby is a left-handed pitcher, throws some absolute bullets of a fastball, and he'll be doing that against some of the better players out there, including Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, who's really struggled this postseason. A lot of strikeouts, certainly by his standards, so the fear is that he's due for a breakout, could come at a poor time for the Brewers. Well, he'll have to go lefty-lefty, so always a bit more difficult for that, at least off the jump, with Aaron Ashby pitching for the Brewers tonight. So we shall see how that plays out. Ashby also has come out of the pen very successfully for the Brewers, including, I believe he pitched in Game 5 as well, part of that nice marching rotation of players who came out for Pat Murphy and got the job done in the clincher against the Cubs. So Aaron Ashby, the opener tonight, and then it remains to be seen who would come in after him. Do we get a Jose Quintana? Do we get Jacob Mizorowski or others ready to perform in Game 1? How will they work their way through with those pitching decisions? Here's something of note, too, just in general for the series as we get you ready for this. The Brewers have so many pitchers, Ashby included, who can just rifle a fastball at you. They have been averaging more than 97 miles per hour on fastballs throughout the postseason so far, so through the 5 games against the Cubs. That is just wild. I mean, it's certainly the way that the game is going. You end up with all of these different flamethrowers on the different rosters who can top out sometimes close to 100 miles per hour. The Brewers certainly have a couple who can surpass that when you talk about the Miz and some of their other relievers, including Ashby. But averaging for Milwaukee more than 97 miles per hour on their fastballs this postseason. It was to get a nice camera change there. It's moving automatically. Can't control that as we get centered up on American Family Field. The bad news when it comes to that high heat and the gas that the Brewers are able to come with, whether it's a starter or someone out of the bullpen, the Dodgers actually hit fastballs really well. They are one of the best teams in baseball hitting against those high mile per hour pitches. So kind of strength on strength, although it's certainly never easy hitting something that's coming 99 miles per hour or the like at you. Again, and the Brewers have a number of different arms who can do that against the talented Dodgers lineup. So we shall see. Just a few of the things to watch out for. But the update that we just got moments ago, Aaron Ashby will be the opener, so to speak, for the Brewers tonight. The lefty who operates traditionally out of the bullpen, instead a couple times now in the postseason becoming the starting pitcher, technically, although not necessarily expecting the length that you would expect from a traditional starter, as we've seen throughout baseball's evolution here in the 21st century. Aaron Ashby against Blake Snell, the 2-time Cy Young winner, who has also been excellent for the Dodgers throughout the postseason. Some injury history, but when he's been pitching recently, he has been pitching lights out for a talented LA rotation. So we'll see what happens in Game 1 tonight of the NLCS at American Family Field. All right, we want to get you back to some of the other things happening here. Again, 2:15 is when we're expecting the players to speak, so just about 10 minutes from now, we'll carry that for you live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Should be a trio of Brewers with Jackson Chourio, Freddie Peralta, the Game 2 starter, and Abner Uribe, another of those flamethrowers out of the Brewers bullpen, set to speak with the media. Chourio and others likely through a translator, but we shall see when that starts at 2:15. In the meantime, we want to get you back to some of the celebrations happening in Philadelphia as well. We caught some of the music, some of the speeches from the 250th commemoration of the U.S. Navy happening indoors because of the weather in Philadelphia. Homecoming 250, they're calling it, the birthplace of the U.S. Navy on the East Coast there of Philly. Let's listen in live to some of the remarks.
And that is how we will carry our legacy on tomorrow. Together, we are the heirs of this remarkable journey. And with our allies and partners alongside, we will continue to rule the waves. No symbol captures the spirit of America more than our gray hulls over the horizon, the roar of our Super Hornets overhead, or the knowledge that our submarines prowling deep beneath the waves are undetectable and poised to strike. And while the character of war has changed and the global network of threats have evolved, we will never, ever back down. Not while the safety of our people is at stake, not when freedom requires defenders, and not while the United States Navy has a say. Forward deployed and backed by the most fearsome and globally integrated fighting force the world has ever known, the Navy is America's away team, honoring a centuries-long solemn promise to deter conflict, project power, and defend our nation's interests across the globe. At the heart of it all, though, every battle and every mission and every war has always been the United States Navy sailor, our main weapon system and our greatest asymmetric advantage. Brave, valiant, and bold, you are the hands that generate the fleet, the eyes that scan the horizon, the warriors that navigate waterways and contested hemispheres around the globe, and the minds that employ our greatest national treasures with unimagined lethality and cognitive expertise. No other service, no other Navy in the world can do what we do with the same level of technical mastery and warfighting expertise. From the waterfront and the pilot house to the engine rooms and the flight deck, our Navy is more than just ships, weapons, and munitions. It is the sum of our battle-ready sailors who temper and hone our razor-sharp edge. We stand here today because of the thousands of Navy pioneers, trailblazers, heroes, visionaries, who cut through the waves with bold and daring action so that we could follow in their wake. At the Battle of Flamborough Head, John Paul Jones and the legendary Baham Richard engaged the HMS Serapis in a volley of fire. With both ships locked in pitched battle, Jones defiantly cried, "I have not yet begun to fight." I figure you'd know that by this weekend. You've heard it a lot. In the Civil War, crossing the mine-laden waters at the Battle of Mobile Bay, Admiral David Farragut valiantly thundered to his crew, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." In 1941, with Pearl Harbor fell victim to attack, mess attendant Dory Miller fearlessly acted and gunned down swarms of belligerent kamikaze in defense of his ship. On his final combat mission in North Vietnam, James Stockdale absorbed an onslaught of enemy fire, his plane bursting into flames, ejecting with a broken leg and a paralyzed arm. Stockdale endured 7 years in captivity and tortured as a prisoner of war. His mental fortitude, relentless spirit, and firmness of faith highlighted that courage isn't measured on the battlefield alone. It is measured in the strength to persevere when hope is scarce, when character is the only thing that remains. And in the mountains of Afghanistan, Navy SEAL Michael Murphy knowingly exposed himself to incessant barrage of Taliban fire to save his brothers in arms. In a tremendous act of valor, Murphy sacrificed his life so that others may live. These great Americans are more than just heroes. They are the personification of service above self, the embodiment of our warrior ethos and esprit de corps, and the standards of excellence we measure ourselves against today. And make no mistake, the standards that define our naval service endure long after the fires of battle have extinguished and the fog of war has cleared. They are ingrained in every fiber of our being. From our nation's capital and the Oval Office to the final frontiers of space, the Navy is our nation's foundry that forges our country's best. Before they led the free world and commanded the resolute desk, many of our nation's presidents served in the Navy. John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Gerald R. Ford sailed alongside Nimitz, sweeping across the Pacific and fighting the Imperial Japanese fleet. At the age of 19, George Herbert Walker Bush became the Navy's youngest pilot, launching torpedoes from his bomber at the Battle of the Philippine Sea. As the Cold War began to unfurl, Admiral Rickover chose Jimmy Carter, who was a submarine qualified officer, to help design the world's foremost nuclear-powered fleet. And today, our Navy heritage culminates with President Trump, who understands with perfect clarity the importance of our Navy and the investments required to stay ahead of our adversaries in order to deliver peace through strength around the globe. But our Navy's legacy continues well beyond Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. When our country's technological superiority was challenged in space, Navy explorers like Neil Armstrong, Alan Shepard, and today's Johnny Kim slipped the gravitational bonds of Earth for a chance to land on the moon. Firm in their convictions, intrepid in their beliefs, and driven by unrelentless thirst for knowledge, these Navy astronauts proved to the world that no frontier, no limit, no idea, no matter the distance or howling, is beyond our reach. They didn't do it because it was easy, but because it was hard. Pressure is a privilege and creates opportunity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the way of the Navy warrior sailor. From that fateful day on October 13th, 1775, a Navy was born, not from vast resources or superiority at sea, but from the fierce determination of a young nation fighting for liberty. The Navy you see today, fierce, lethal, dominant, and ready, is not just a product of innovation and steel. It is a living legacy, a sacred institution of the brave men and women who have answered the call to serve. Reflecting on his time in service, President Kennedy had this to say of the Navy, and I quote, "I can imagine no more rewarding a career than any man who may be asked in this century what he did to make his life worthwhile can respond with a good deal of pride and satisfaction. I served in the United States Navy." Happy 250th birthday, Navy. The best is yet to come. Here's to the bravery that shapes our past and to the resolve that guides our future. God bless our sailors, our families, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
A fiery speech there detailing some of the history and some of the key moments of the U.S. Navy going back to its birth 250 years ago in Philadelphia. All right, that has been pretty fun watching. Right now, we want to get you back to the story of the day locally here in Milwaukee. That would be the trio of Brewers sporting the flag there as well. Proud of where they're from. Stepping to the podium, Jackson Churio on the right there, Abner Uribe in the middle, and Freddie Peralta on the left, the Game 2 starter for the Brewers. Ready to take questions from the media ahead of Game 1 tonight.
Que me he sentido mejor estos últimos días. Se podría decir que cada día me he sentido mejor. Creo que estoy muy cerca de estar a mi 100% y contento, la verdad, que cada día me vaya mejor.
Yeah, I feel good. You know, I think over this past week, every single day that's passed, I've been able to feel a little bit better. So, you know, I feel comfortable to say that I'm close to 100% right now, and I'm just happy to be able to say that each day it has been getting better.
Let's go to Adam in the second row.
Jackson, to follow up on that, how do you manage it? Because these games are so important, every base is so important. Do you have to think in your head to be a little bit careful, and how difficult is that to do when you're, say, running the bases?
¿Cómo tú manejas esa situación? Porque obviamente está difícil por la importancia de los juegos. Tú tienes que manejar eso diferente en cómo tú corres los bases o cómo tú estás jugando defensa.
No, la verdad que defensivamente yo creo que nunca tuve problemas, ¿sabes? Siempre traté de hacer todas las jugadas que podía y gracias a Dios pude resolver pues, en ese sentido. Y corriendo las bases yo creo que sí me cuido un poquito, pero ya como lo he dicho, me siento mucho mejor y me siento en una buena capacidad como para ponerlo un poco más.
Yeah, you know, defensively, I don't think it's been much of a problem. I think I've been able to make all of the plays and give 100% effort to make whatever plays has been needed. On the bases is where, sure, yeah, I think I've definitely maybe paid a little bit more mind to it and maybe had to be just a little bit more careful. But like I said, I think we're getting closer and closer to being back to 100%, and where that's not something that we're going to have to think about as much.
Go to Steve in the second row in the middle.
for Abner. You brought it out there, so I'm guessing it was your call for the Dominican Republic flag. What made you decide to bring it out there, and just the pride that you and Freddie both have kind of in your home?
Obviamente tú eres el que trae la bandera, es el orgullo y por qué tomaste la decisión para sacar la bandera para este hoy.
Creo que cuando joven siempre me gustó Giordano Ventura, verlo como su forma de lanzar y de cómo se desempeñaba dentro del terreno, y siempre veía que él llevaba la bandera con él. Entonces algo que me tocó a mí ahora y lo traigo para mí es un orgullo y una oportunidad de estar aquí con la bandera hoy.
Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, I always really liked watching Giordano Ventura pitch, and it was something I always really enjoyed, just the way he went about it, the way that he would throw, and you know, I always remember him going with being with the flag at all times. So it's a great honor, it's a great pride to be able to do it, and you know, it makes me very happy to be able to bring it up and do it myself now.
Go up to the top right on the aisle.
Freddie, the Dodgers aren't 90 miles away from you, so there might be significantly less opposing fans in the building tonight. What kind of atmosphere are you expecting, and how much does the fan interaction help you guys or affect this game?
So, can you ask me the question again?
Yeah, Freddie, what kind of atmosphere are you expecting tonight, and how much do the fans play a role in the game?
I think the fans, I think makes a difference. For this game, but you know, we just here for the fans, and we love the support of each one, and you know, like I said before, we play this game because we love the game, but it's way better when we enjoy the crowd every night here. That's it.
Let's go to Kurt in the third row on the right.
For Freddie, how proud are you to watch Abner and the way he's taken steps forward this year and become one of the better relievers in all of baseball?
I'm really proud about him, and I let him know all the time because I know his process in the minor, how difficult it was for him, and what he has done here for us and for his career. It's been unbelievable, and I wish him the best, and hopefully he keeps doing that for many years because what he has done already is very impressive.
Go up to the fourth row in the middle.
Question to Jackson and Abner. I'm sure that Freddie is like your brother, and what you have learned from him, like how to approach the games, like a mental aspect in the big stage.
Para ustedes dos, ella se imagina que Freddy como el hermano tuyo, que tú has aprendido de él, de cómo manejar las emociones obviamente en los juegos importantes y grandes como él.
No, la verdad que Freddy es alguien que sabe manejar esa presión muy bien. La verdad que a mí personalmente me gusta mucho la manera en la que él se disfruta cuando saca un cero o un inning bueno, que hace así. La verdad que hay muchas cosas que aprender de él, ¿sabes? Él es alguien súper atento, alguien que practica esas pequeñas cosas, ¿sabes? Pero en lo personal yo no le presto mucha atención a eso, pero lo veo a él y sé que ese tipo de cosas son las que uno tiene que mejorar cada día para mantenerse sano lo más posible.
Yeah, you know, I think Freddie's just a great person to learn from in these situations and in these games. I think he does a great job of, you know, managing his emotions. And I personally always like whenever his emotions come out and seeing how animated he gets whenever he gets a big zero or something like that. So I think it's a lot of fun to watch. But Freddie's just a person in general that you can learn a lot from. And so I think in these moments it's great to have him. You know, he pays a lot of attention to the little details and things like that are things that maybe you don't notice, you know, immediately, but are good things to watch and to have to learn from. Y la misma pregunta para ti.
Como Chorio dijo, de la forma en que como se desempeña dentro del terreno, con el tipo de persona que es, líder, ¿me entiendes? Algo que tú admiras como compañero y como ser humano, de la forma en que trabaja y cómo se maneja dentro y fuera del terreno.
And yeah, just like Jackson said, you know, watching what Freddie does out on the field, you know, it's very admirable to watch, and he's an admirable person to have both as a teammate and as a human off the field, just to be able to follow his leadership and his example, what he sets forth in between the lines.
Go to the second row in the middle.
I have a question for each. One question. Empezando con Freddy. llévanos a esa preparación quizás para esa apertura que vas a tener contra los Dodgers. Tú eres conocido por la potencia en tu recta, la efectividad que tienes para los ponches. Los Dodgers, un equipo que le batea bien a la recta, obviamente sin entrar mucho en detalles, cómo es ese proceso de scouting y también de si te inspira, digamos, ese duelo de que básicamente poder contra poder.
¿En español o inglés? Inglés o español.
Español.
Español. Bueno,
Pasado de inglés.
tú sabes que nos hemos enfrentado una cuantas veces, sí, y como tú dices, son un tremendo equipo, muy bueno en realidad, en todos los sentidos, y es un line-up que no es nada fácil, pero tú sabes que estamos aquí para competir, es lo que hace la diferencia, tú sabes, en este juego al final del día. Nosotros también creo que tenemos buen equipo. Nosotros al final del día lo que hay que batallar y dar lo mejor de mí. Y a ellos, tú sabes, van a dar lo mejor de ellos. Poner todo ahí en el terreno, dejarlo todo.
Esta para Abner, para profundizar un poco de lo de Giordano, ¿qué tanta inspiración fue en tu carrera, sobre todo en la formación como pitcher, ¿no? Más que todo en el juego como tal? ¿Y qué tan importante es eso, estar en este escenario que viste a tu ídolo estar también? Y si nos puedes agregar también, se ha hecho viral tus celebraciones después de los ponches, si puedes explicar un poquito el origen de todo eso.
Bueno, como acaba de decir al final, por eso ya tuve la forma mía de cómo lanzo y cómo celebro y como la vibra que tengo en el montículo, bueno, de por ahí viene como soy de parte de Giordano, porque me gustaba mucho con la energía que él se desempeñaba, como era, lo agresivo que era, no le tenía miedo a nadie en el montículo, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, de ahí es que vengo a gozarme lo mío y a trabajar por lo mío, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, cada ser humano trabaja, entonces yo trabajo y me gozo lo mío, me da el motivo a mí de seguir cada día trabajando para seguir disfrutándome lo mío, ¿me entiendes?
Y Jackson, por último, obviamente tú ahora estás lidiando, sobre todo en los días anteriores, ya afortunadamente estás cerca del 100% con esta lesión, de jugar con lesión. ¿Qué tan importante ha sido ver a lo largo de todo el año a una persona como Contreras, por ejemplo, que ha seguido jugando a pesar de la fractura en el dedo que hizo pública desde mayo?
No, la verdad que es increíble. Él, a pesar de todos los problemas que puede tener con su mano y eso, la verdad que jugó todos los juegos de la mejor manera posible, ¿sabes? Esa actitud que le pone y esa pasión que le pone al juego, la verdad que es algo muy especial, muy admirable también.
Let's go to Bob in the front row.
For Abner and Freddie, how cognizant do you have to be as far as making sure you're not tipping your pitches? Dodgers are very good about picking it up. And the Cubs came out and talked about your pitches in the 8th inning, Abner. You guys talked about that as far as changing things up?
For me, you know, I have to try it. I don't like to think about it, but I understand and I know that it's really important. I think that we have the people here that are in charge to check on us and make sure that we are doing it right. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's part of the game, and you never know. And they are really good at it. But I think that I just have to stay focused in the game and try to make it simple and not think too much. That's it.
Let's go over to Sophia on the far right.
Freddie, for you, is there anything to like settling in maybe into the postseason now that you've made 2 starts in the DS, or do you have to really treat each one as a new new start, new challenge?
I think it's a new challenge, but at the end of the day, for me, I just take it like another game, because for me, what it works is just keep the game simple and go outside and compete. Each hitter, each pitch that I throw is what makes me feel like more comfortable with myself. Because if I don't want to try to keep doing more than normal, and then but I try to keep the game simple.
Adam, second row.
Freddie, to test your memory, in the 2018 NLCS, do you remember the way your team mixed and matched the pitching, and it wasn't necessarily a lot of starters pitching the whole game? Does this feel like that? And how do you feel about going into a series of 7 games and having to do some of that as a team? It feels like similar, if I'm not wrong, but for sure, without afraid to make a mistake or something. I know that for some reason
This team feels like different. It's like way better feelings. You know, how we manage everything, like in the clubhouse, talking about players, is different. And I know that Murphy and the other coaching staff, they are doing what they think is best for the team. And, you know, I can remember how often we use the relievers and starting, you know, like back and forth and all that. But I remember that Woody, me, we came from the bullpen multiple times. And it feels kind of the same, but it's 8 years ago. You know, I can't remember a lot of those, but I remember it was fun. So let's keep it that way.
Let's go to Jack in the middle of the third row.
Abner, after some of the challenges you experienced last year with the performance and the demotion and the injury, what did you learn from that experience last year that you felt you were able to take with you this year to help you have more success?
Después de todo lo que pasó el año pasado con la lesión, ¿qué tú llevaste del año pasado que ha traído éxito para este año?
Creo que la disciplina pues es lo más que me ha ayudado. Pues he trabajado, el año pasado tuve mucho que pensar, ¿me entiendes? En el momento cuando me lesioné tuve mucho de que reflexionar y trabajar en mí, ¿me entiendes? Entonces ya lo que tuve que agregarle al talento fue la disciplina y trabajar cada día más con un objetivo y una meta por la cual trabajar.
I think discipline is the part of my game that helped me the most. You know, whenever you're hurt, you have a lot of time to think and to reflect on yourself and avenues that you can better yourself and better your game. And I think discipline is for sure that, and just being able to better set objectives and goals daily to go out there and work on and to continue stacking days on top of each other and building off of success we've had.
While that trio of Brewers continues to answer questions there inside of American Family Field, we are getting you ready for all of the action tonight. Game 1 of the NLCS. We'll get you back to those interviews, and Pat Murphy is still to come, scheduled around 3 o'clock on a special Brewers postseason edition of the Wisconsin Live Desk, coming right after this 2-minute break on Fox Local. Those two proud Dominican pitchers there, Freddie Peralta and Abner Uribe. Wonder how Jackson Churio felt. Maybe he wants the Venezuelan flag there. And how about this? The first pitch tonight, Robin Yount thrown to Ryan Braun. Thanks for watching.